Okay. So for the last 11 years, you've been murdering your way across the countryside. And has the goddess of death become your patron? No? Okay, the bounty on your head is, we'll say 245 gold pieces. And that's alive, or that's dead, so alive is double that. So almost 500 gold pieces for your head. And you look around the tavern, and it is a seedy looking tavern full of angry mercenaries, all staring at you. And one of them goes, "Hey, it's that guy on the poster." Roll initiative. Right, so your barbarian has
Intermittent explosive disorder. So on today's episode, we're going to show you a few ways that you can build a barbarian in a really unique way.
that takes the name barbarian and turns it into what it means instead of what we've said it means.
We're super excited to do this. We're going to do this with the help of our player's handbook and the DSM-V, which is the diagnostic manual for mental health disorders. I've chosen 2 diagnoses. I'll take one. Peter will take the other. Let's do this.
Intermittent explosive disorder. Calling your barbarian explosive as a character trait. Fun. Do that. It's good. Basically, you need to have specific things in order to qualify for having this. And if you build a barbarian based on having this disorder, you come up with an interesting character.
Yeah. Because not all barbarians will innately have this.
In fact, I'd say most wouldn't. You would have to specifically, and I think in almost all cases, do it to have it.
And it would be awesome.
It would be awesome. So the first one is verbal aggression or physical aggression towards property, animals, or other individuals occurring weekly on average for a period of 3 months. Now, check. That a lot of barbarians have. Right out of the gate. But a lot of experienced D&D players who aren't bored yet will specifically not do that because they want to be careful and they don't want to get the party in trouble, and you don't want your friends to hate you as I'm going to butcher the goat in the middle of the street, and then you get chased out of town and the wizard doesn't have any supplies because he didn't get a chance to shop. So
there's still a social contract in play.
But if you purposefully had 3 behavioral outbursts involving damage or destruction to or physical assault resulting in injury against people or animals, it would be pretty interesting to kind of almost force your character into this. One of the things is the magnitude of aggressiveness expressed during the outbursts is grossly out of proportion to the provocation or any preceding psychosocial stressors. That means basically you're way too big of a responder to small things. Barmaid spills your drinks, you stab her. Guy jostles you on the street, you cut off his hand. And forcing a character to have excessive outbursts could get your party into some really interesting situations. And DMs out there, I'd love to see you have an NPC that journeys with your party if none of them are willing to do it, or if you have a long-standing game and that NPC has this. And that NPC gets the party in a lot of trouble. Oh, he was with them, the guy that stabbed the girl who bumped into him. And then it's like, well, interesting.
Yeah. And see how your party interacts. I think one of the beautiful things about D&D is we get to explore things in a safe environment where we can redo things. And so being able to see, because I think there's a part of us when we get frustrated, we do want to do things that are excessive. Even to the role of I get mad, I want to punch a wall. That's excessive for what happened more often than not. And so if you were to interact with somebody who was doing that, how would you interact with them?
I mean, rage rooms exist for a reason, where you pay $20 to spend 30 minutes in a room with a sledgehammer and a whole bunch of stuff you can just wail on. that those exist because people like to go overboard.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next thing, now this one's interesting. The recurrent aggressive outbursts are not premeditated and are not committed to achieve a tangible objective. So I feel like a lot of people who get into D&D who have anger issues, in my personal experience, and I'm guilty of this, of playing a character and immediately not caring what happens to them and just wrecking face and just murder hoboing on the first day and playing a different character once they're arrested or killed. Because having no tangible objective that you're trying to get to and having no reason for swinging an axe at people is something you can do in D&D.
And I would even argue that maybe a little bit of the murder hobo-ness that we see is this impulsivity that, I haven't actually found out if this is a person that I should be killing, or if this is somebody who's going to give me the next thing for the quest, or I haven't done the time to explore whether or not I should be slaughtering this cow.
Right. Yeah. I'm gonna kill this, and then the DM is gonna sigh behind his screen because, that was the big bad evil guy, and now he has to figure it out because you killed him on round 1.
One thing about this is that the chronological age has to be more than 6 years old. So my thought is, what if you built a 7-year-old?
A 7-year-old half giant, so who's basically adult male human size.
Yep.
Who has this 7-year-old throwing a tantrum, but he's as big as your horse and is swinging an axe.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
Please, someone do that. It has to impair the individual. And so when all of this is happening, you can have the barbarian completely aware that everything they're doing is wrong, that they shouldn't be doing it, and that it's bugging the party, and that it's something that they can't control, and it infuriates them that they do it. So they do something and are immediately frustrated and raging, wink, because they did it and they wish they hadn't.
And one of the things that we love about Critical Role and other role-playing teams is that they find ways to do character development and to start a character off with lots of room to grow, and that we slowly see them progress into their growth. And what better way than to set out with, this is the idea of how my character needs to grow up and to mature and develop, and see ways that you can show your party like, oh man, I can't believe that I just murdered a whole flock of sheep and the shepherd as well. I feel so bad and I can't help it. And then after several sessions, have them fighting against the urge. And like, oh, I'm raging, but I'm trying to rage while sitting on this rock, holding my axe and not killing anyone.
And refusing to help the party out of a desire to not rage. Or you can go another route, DM, and you can say that this desire to rage, their intermittent explosive disorder, is actually a demon that's been haunting them. And they get rid of the demon, and they've beaten this mental disorder, and how big of an effect that might have on the character.
And then make them a paladin.
Ooh. So you have oppositional defiance.
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
So I felt like conduct disorder or intermittent explosive disorder could fit and had a good association with being a barbarian. There's also oppositional defiant disorder, which I think might work. So the criteria for this is a pattern of angry or irritable mood, argumentative, defiant behavior, or vindictiveness lasting at least 6 months, as evidenced by 4 symptoms of the following list. And they have to be exhibited with someone who is not a sibling. So first, there's 3 categories: angry, irritable mood, argumentative, defiant behavior, and vindictiveness. Number 1 in angry, irritable is often loses their temper. I think we can say that raging is losing your temper.
I would like to rage.
Is often touchier or annoyed. I think Critical Role does this pretty well with their barbarian, who is somewhat standoffish and a little irritable.
And well, what's interesting is we're 2 in, and right now, Not the Brave from Critical Role Season 2 is 2 for 2.
Yeah.
So next. And that's a rogue, so this is interesting.
Is often angry and resentful. that one I think is more role play than class-based out of the player's handbook. Argumentative. So the only one in here that really like I could see working really closely was often deliberately annoys others. But you also have like often argues with authority figures or children and adolescents with adults. Often actively defies or refuses to comply with requests from an authority figure or with the rules. Or often blames others for his or her mistakes or misbehavior. So if you were to punch someone and say, wow, it's really irritating that all of our fans just punched you, huh? It's the man.
It's the man.
Society did that, not me.
Yeah.
I somebody made me do that.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I hit you. I was just, he was going to shoot an arrow at you, and I was just trying to move you out of the way. But
how cool is that in role play?
Yeah.
Okay, so vindictiveness, this one seems to fit pretty well, has been spiteful or vindictive at least twice within the past 6 months. I think this kind of solves the problem of the impulsivity and the purposefulness of raging, because now we can say it's vindictiveness. So if you're raging after initiative has been rolled, you fit this category really well. But if you're raging before you roll initiative, which honestly, in the 9 years or so that I've been playing, I don't know if I've seen that ever happen.
Well, it's because the distinction of raging is almost a combat thing, I feel like.
True.
Because I think there are points where a barbarian could definitely argue, be like, I was furious before we rolled initiative. I believe I'm already raging, and I think that's up to the DM at that point. But that's good.
Okay, so another aspect of this diagnosis, the disturbance in behavior associated with distress in the individual or others in his or her immediate social context, or its impacts negatively on social, educational, occupational, or other important areas of functioning.
Does your barbarian raging cause you to lose your job? When your barbarian rages, do you have to run out of town?
Did your old party kick you out because you were just too angry?
Call now. You or a loved one may have mesothelioma. Sorry, that's just not how it was going.
Love it. Love it. So this is another thing that we talked about in our first episode. Criteria C is the behaviors do not occur exclusively during the course of a psychotic, substance abuse, depressive, or bipolar disorder. Also, the criteria are not met for disruptive mood dysregulation disorder.
If your barbarian only rages when they've been drinking, then it can't be this, right?
However, if your barbarian is always drinking, maybe it could.
Okay.
Specifically with the barbarian, we talked in our first episode about antisocial and conduct disorder as being two decent diagnoses. A barbarian would not be able to have any of these diagnoses and antisocial behavior, but they could have these diagnoses, one of them, and conduct disorder.
Yeah. I mean, the layering of it that would be really difficult for me to role play multiple disorders, but I mean, it's clever. I was just reading the handbook. Barbarians come alive in the chaos of combat. They can enter a berserk state where rage takes over, giving them superhuman strength and resilience. Barbarian can draw on their reserve of fury, that's vindictiveness, only a few times without resting, but those few rages are usually sufficient to defeat whatever threats arise.
Which means that it's probably excessive.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Heard it here.
You heard it here, folks. So play a barbarian that has one of these disorders and let us know how it's going and get back to us on how you think these episodes are and what you think of what we're saying.
And we would love to hear your ideas for these characters in the comments below.
Catch you next time.